Welcome back to the channel. Man, I am tickled to death you show back up. I know it's been a minute since we made a video, but it is what it is. Schedule is what schedule is. This is going to be a really exciting video, at least for me. I hope it is for you too. We're finally going to get to put this thing together after months of waiting. I believe we have all of our parts. So y'all sit tight, get you a drink, get you a smoke, and y'all enjoy. Welcome this episode in the garage.
Today seems like yesterday, hopefully not tomorrow. And it feels like sometimes it's always on a borrow. Walking a straight line ain't easy today, and I know this cause I wake some mornings and say, man, I didn't like yesterday. The house is dirty and bills are still not paid. Gotta get up, gotta get out, I gotta find me a paper right out. Take a walk in my shoes and you'll see. Take a look at my world.
Like I mentioned in the beginning of this thing, I'm pretty excited about this. We've got our parts laid out. We're going to start with the cam. We got our lifters over here boiling in the oil since yesterday, so they'll be ready. I'm going to get you set up. We're going to get this cam unwrapped and get it ready to put in. All right, let's see what we got here. This cam is made by Elgin Cams, and come to find out, they're actually the OEM manufacturing for GM. Did not know that. I got it through Richard Holder Performance. It's where we got this thing. It's got numbers on it. RH001. He doesn't give a cam card because they're his cam specs, and this is a truck series cam, and that's pretty much all I know about it. So I have got some, let's see the best way to do this. I've got some this here 85-140. I don't know if you can see that. And this is as good as any lubricant you're going to find for engine assembly. I'm not paying $40 or $50 for engine assembly lube. You can if you want to. It's definitely out there for you to buy, but this dude ain't doing it. Easy with the paint job, man. Easy with the paint job. All right. Beautiful. All right, next up, let's get our cam cover on. These torqued to 22 pounds, which is basically the same as every other 10 millimeter bolt. So I guess next is our timing chain. We'll start down here on the crank. And what I usually like to do is take the old lower gear and use it to hammer that sucker on there. Hopefully it'll go on there. We'll see. Let's see what kind of luck we have. We'll call that top dead center. See if I can manhandle that thing. There we go. About right there. Something like yo. Are we gonna try to get this thing in one shot? There's our dot. Here's our dot. There's our dowel pin. So our dowel pin needs to be about 3 o'clock, something like yo. We'll see how close we are. One more tooth, I think. Something like that. Push our cam out here. Cam needs to turn a little bit. Dot to dot. Something like that. Right there. Get our cam bolts. And yes, I'm reusing the old ones. Sure am. I think about the only time that matters is rod mains and head bolts, and I really don't know how much it matters there. Torque specs on these, not really for sure. 33 pounds maybe? I don't know. Alright, I was just a little bit wrong. They torque at 26. So we're at 22, 24, 25, 26. Beautiful. That'll work, George. Tell you what, let's do. This is gonna make me feel a whole lot better. Let's put a little bit of blue Loctite on these things. That just makes me feel, if I can get it to come out, warm and cozy inside. Now I know I got some in here now messing around with me. But you know I'm shooting a cotton picking video here for Pete's sake. People ain't got time to wait around on you. I was trying to tell him, pay no attention to me though. Who am I? Make good use of that right there. You don't waste that. Yeah, that's gonna make me feel better right there. You know, that warm feeling you get inside. All right. Now we can move on. Now I know for a fact that when I pulled this thing apart, I put all of the nuts and bolts, nuts, maybe, I don't know, in a box. In a box. They're in a box. I know they're in a box. Why do I know they're in a box? Because I put them in the box. Problem is, I don't know where I put the box. You see what I'm saying? So, I have been looking now for the last 20 minutes around this garage, and I have yet to spot them. So, maybe your eyes will help. Are they up here? This is where I would think that I would put them. They're just in a regular cardboard box, sort of like that one. What about here? How about there? What about in here? What about behind here? In there? In here? Here? What about up here? In here? What about under here? Down here? Who in the world, in their right mind, would put a box of bolts in the trunk of a car is beyond me. But when I find out, you'll be the first one to know. Alright, let's see if we can get this oil pump on here. Don't need you. Alright. Let's see if we can line this thing up. There we go. Just like so. Now I've heard people talk about centering your oil pump. I don't know what they're talking about, so I'm not going to pay no attention to it. So now we got to find our bolts. Let's see. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. And I want that one. Tell you what, let's get out in front of that. Go ahead and Loctite these two. It just makes me feel better. May not have to, I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a knucklehead in his garage. All right, let's get them torqued up. He's torqued 18 foot-pounds. So I've got her flipped over because I believe it is time for an oil pan. So this oil pan came from Poor Man's Motorsports, and it is supposed to be a oil pan that will fit the frame around the steering components and yada 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 yada. We're gonna find out. I think the first thing we need to do is start with our oil pickup. We'll go ahead and stick our O-ring down in here. Now I'm not 100% sure whether this O-ring goes in here or goes on here, but from where I sit on row 9, it looks like you accomplish the same thing. But now that I've moved up a couple of rows, I see that it may actually go on here first. Maybe. I gotta be honest with you, it doesn't look right yet. Let's get some bolts in it. Now when you go get your bolts in your box of bolts, don't just grab any old bolt just because it fits, because if you ain't careful, you'll go all the way through that thing and right into your timing chain. Ask me how I know that. Go ahead, ask me. No, it's not because I did it. I can see, it's right here in my teeth. I can see what would happen if one was to do that. It's what I'm trying to tell you. So don't be that guy. And I'm going to tell you right now. It don't look right to me. Number one, I think I got the wrong bolts. Let's try. Let's just see. I'm not for sure. Let's just see. Because I got two other bolts right here. And I gotta tell you, as of this second, I'm just not thrilled. Let's do some tightening and let's see if it pops down in there. It's what I'm hoping is fixing to happen. What size you reckon those Allens are? I'm gonna say they're standard. I'm gonna say they're probably 3/16. Alright, well, it's starting to look better. I don't know how tight is tight. I'm gonna say tight is about like that. That's 3 Ugga-Duggas. Let's see if we can find that nut. You're in my way. All right, you remember that warm and cozy feeling I was mentioning earlier? This is one of those things I really like to do before I put an oil pan on, is just verify that I've got the kind of room under that pickup that I want. So that's what do you see right there? About 5 1/8. So that says 5 1/2. So we got 3/8 of an inch of clearance in between the bottom of our pickup and the bottom of the oil pan. That is plenty. All right, I reckon it is time to put the oil pan on this thing. So remember, when you have a front plate and rear plate, like LS's do, you need to come in here and put you a little bit of goop in there, because if you don't, quite possibly you're going to have a leak right there. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to be just honest and transparent. This little Johnny right here, I don't know what it is, what it does, or where it goes. Hopefully it don't go somewhere in the oil pan. All right, so we got our oil pan on. Excuse me. And we got most of the bolts in it. Something I wanted to mention. Let me go ahead and grab these 2 bolts. Something I wanted to mention before we get too far out ahead of ourselves is the back of your oil pan and the back of your block need to be just as perfect as you can get it, because your bell housing for your transmission bolts through your oil pan along with the back of the block. So you don't want your oil pan to be sticking out or sticking in, you know, and put all that junk in a jam up. So what you can do real quick, if you'll notice, the back of these oil pans are machined. So you can use that machine finish. Make sure you don't have a gap anywhere. Make sure you don't have a gap here. If you've got a gap down here at the bottom, that means your oil pan is sticking towards the front of the engine too far. And if you set it flat on your block and you have a gap in here, or if you set it flat on your oil pan and you have a gap in here, that means your oil pan is sticking out towards the back of the car too far. So before you go torquing anything down, you want to really make sure that you got those nice and flat, because you don't want to run into that problem on down the road. And for whatever reason, don't know, there's no bolt hole there. I don't know, maybe on the later Gen 4, maybe Gen 5, I don't know. Maybe they have them. This one does not. Let's see. Torque down. I don't know the torque sequence, or even if there is one, but I like to start in the middle and work my way out. That's usually safe practice. These back two bolts, they torque about 8 pounds. About right there. Let me make sure I didn't leave a washer off. That head looks awfully funny. I don't think I did. No, I did not. It looks a little weird to me. There it goes. It's almost sunk down. Almost sunk down into the oil pan where you can't get to it. All right, as I was making the trip around this thing, I noticed something. You tell me what you think. Now, do you reckon that little majobber right there is for that little Johnny right there? Do you reckon? I'm reckoning that that's probably what that's for. Now I gotta figure out which way this gasket goes. Which way makes more sense? No. 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 I'll be honest with you. Something like that, I believe, is where that goes. It's got some awfully long bolts for it though. Now, is that an oil return? Or is that an oil feed? Can that be used to feed a turbo? Can that be used for both feed and return? I do not know. I might take a look at the original oil pan and see what's there. Not 100% sure. This new stuff boggles the old mind. So everything seems to be going pretty good so far. So I've got this thing flipped over right side up, and we're going to get ready to install the timing cover. I've still got to put the front main seal in it. So let me clear off the table, get you set up, and we'll get to doing that. Y'all hold tight. So let's see if we can get this front main seal installed. Now I do not have the socket to fit that, unfortunately. However, I do have that right there. So let's see if we can get this thing in here. It's got to go farther than that, but this table is flexing too much, so I'm gonna set it in the floor and get it knocked the rest of the way in, just like so. All right, let's get this thing ready to put on the motor. Before I do that, I want to go ahead and wash down this chain if I can get to it without just making a horrible mess everywhere. Let's see, let's try spinning this motor and we can get all it. Pretty dang good. I'm about to check it up just so I know. I believe we're good to go. I just like the rear cover. We're gonna put us a dab in here, you know, just to head a leak off at the pass. Let's get her cover. Now we'll run these in, but now we're not going to tighten them because if you remember in the video where I took this apart, the timing cover doesn't have lineup dials, right? So like your older small block, they'll have lineup dials down here for your timing cover to center your seal over the crank. Your snout on your lower crank pulley is what centers that that front cover up. So we'll have to wait to get our pulley on, get it in place, and then we'll come back and tighten all these bolts up. So we got our lower pulley drying. We knocked all the rust off of it and painted it. And so while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and change out these valve springs, because our cam has got just a little bit too much lift. So we're gonna change that. Now I usually have a machine shop do this, but I thought, you know what, let's save just a little bit of money and let's do this ourselves. I already got 2 of these done. Now I've got, you notice the head's a little wobbly. I've got this foam block in the combustion chamber to keep the valves from shooting out yonder way, making it a little more difficult to put this back together. This is a little cheap little tool I bought off of eBay, maybe. It's really all it is. Just a groove cut in it. It goes over the top of your spring. Get that out yonder. Get a new one. And these have a little bit more spring pressure as well. So if we were wanting it, we could get more RPM out of it. You know, if we were just to want to. It's probably not the best tool in the world, because there is a little bit of adjusting you have to do to keep the springs centered on the valve, but it does work. Because if the spring's not centered on the valve stem, the valve keepers do not want to go back in. Let's see if my screwdriver's got some magnet to it. Hit do. Knock that in there. See if we can knock this one in here like so. Yeah, our spring is just a little off. Let's see if we can remedy that. That's closer right there. Where'd you go? And it still behooves me that after, I don't know how many decades, what, since the 50s, I guess. 55 was first V8, wasn't it? For Chevrolet, anyway. That these things work. No, not yet. I got one here that ain't real happy. I got a keeper that has dropped down the valve stem a little bit. I gotta get this one back out. Come on, baby. Well, let's see if it'll work. I don't think it will. No. There we go. Come on out of there. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's back this off a little bit. There you go. That's more better.
guess I'll just stay until tomorrow. There was a day when love seemed far from here. There was a day when love seemed so clear. With a prayer on the window, pathways extended to tomorrow. Until tomorrow, I'll think of better ways. Until tomorrow, I'll look for brighter days. Until tomorrow, I guess I'll just stay. Until tomorrow, until tomorrow. Now is the time that we need more love. It's so hard to find when it comes to push and shove. With a prayer on the window, pathways extend until tomorrow. Until tomorrow, I'll think of better ways. Until tomorrow, I'll look for brighter days. Until tomorrow, I guess I'll just stay. Until tomorrow, until tomorrow. Until tomorrow, I'll think of better ways. Until tomorrow, I'll look for brighter days. Until tomorrow, I think I'll just stay.
That's going to do it for the cylinder heads. Matter of fact, that's going to do it for me. It's about supper time. Sun has gone down. It's getting a little bit cool. So I'm going to flip the lights off, go in there and throw some groceries down my throat. Call it a day, and I will see you tomorrow. I made it. So I reckon a good place to start today would be going ahead and switching out some sensors, because they're just, you know, right in our orbital socket. I've already got these loosened up. My finger and thumb were not that strong. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with these. But what I do know is that if there is something wrong with those, it's going to be a pain in the posterior to change them later, because you got to pull intake and your lift of valley pan, whatever they call that. And these torqued down to 15 pounds. All right, so the last thing we need to do before we put our cylinder heads on, about got ahead of myself, we need to go ahead and load up our trays trying to put each individual lifter in and get it turned the right way is a pain in the butt. Now these are LS7 lifters and LS7 lifter trays. So if you're switching to the LS7 stuff, then you're gonna have to buy the lifter trays that go along with it, just so you know. All right, let's see about getting these in here. Just like that. To me, that is a whole lot easier than each individual lifter going in, then making sure you've got the lifter turned right, and then trying to get all 4 of those lifters set in the bottom of that tray correctly. It's just easier to load them that way. Also notice your groove at the top of your tray. That's meant for that bolt hole right there. Just like so. Try not to get this oil all over the place, because it's got to be cleaned up before we put our head gasket on. So you want to make sure that you don't just jam your bolt down in there. Make sure that the hole in your plastic tray is pretty even with the hole in the block. See if we can find their bolts in here. Yeah, that's one. So see that shoulder under the head? That locates that plastic tray. So you don't want to just jam your bolt in there and ram that shoulder into your plastic tray, because you're liable to crack it. These torque at 8 pounds. Now we're ready to start on the heads. So I'm gonna get me some brake cleaner, wipe off the surface of this head, get all that oil and crap out of it. That'll help our head gasket seal, because we need all the help we can get. And nothing sucks like a leaking head gasket. For Pete's sake. We got our head gasket ready to go. We got multi-layer steel, MLS they call it. Should be a good head gasket. Go ahead and set that on there. If you'll look, this cylinder head is blocked off. So this goes on your passenger side. Just like so. Our 2 medium length go over here. also another way to tell, to make it easier. You got your steam crossover. Of course, you'll see the same thing on the cylinder head over here. The other side of the cylinder heads are blocked off. So we have that one blocked, and on that cylinder head, you'll have that one blocked. So it's just easier rather than switching all this crap around and finding out it's too late and having to do a bunch of changing. It's just easier to put the right cylinder head on the right side the first time. All right, so that was the first round of 22 pounds. So here's the thing. You're supposed to torque these 22 pounds, 90 degrees. Second round, whatever, 70, 90 degrees. Third round. Again, I do not have a torque wrench that will do that. So we're going to go 22 pounds. We're going to do 50 pounds, then we're going to do 75 pounds. That's how we're going to do it. And if people like it, good. If they don't, good. All right, now that we got all those torqued, we're gonna come over here and run all these down, and they will torque. I'm gonna have to get a deep well. They will torque to 22 pounds. So we got everything torqued, and so I reckon it is time to go ahead and put our valley pan on. I reckon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this wire up as I go. Want to make sure that I don't have that wire kinked and being pinched in between the top of the sensor and those tubes that go down through there. Just like so. Let me move this gasket. Now I'm going to assume these torque to 22 pounds. We're down to time to install all the valve train, and this is not a how-to video, but I'm going to walk you through what I'm going to do real quick. So first I'm going to install all the push rods, and then I'll install the rocker arms and the rocker arm mounts, and hand tighten all of the rocker arms, and then I'll rotate the engine as necessary, tightening or torquing down to 22 pounds each rocker arm while it's on the base circle of the cam. So I'm going to speed through this real quick, and we'll get this part knocked out. If you want how-to videos on how to do this, I'm sure there's 1,000 of them on YouTube. But that was just a quick run through of what's going on. So we got all that stuff done. Got the valve covers on it. Those are not the valve covers that will remain on it, but just trying to keep it closed up, keep the junk out of it. All right, now it is time for the crown and jewel. We're fixing to set the intake on this thing. Oh yeah. Don't need that. Gaskets. Anything else in here? Don't think so. Now before you guys start hammering me about a sheet metal intake, I am fully aware that I will lose a little bit of bottom end torque. But as I have stated before, my going fast days are behind me, and now it's really more about the look. And I have also stated that I am not fond of how the LS looks. So I will go out of my way to change that as much as I can, even at the cost of a few pounds of bottom end torque. Truth be known, if I was after power, I could get a lot more out of that truck intake sitting right there. But it is dog ugly. And I've seen the plastic intakes that are shaved, and they still look like they fell out of an ugly tree and hit every limb on the way down. But that is just my opinion. All right, guys, I believe that is going to do it. I'm here to tell you, if you hung out this far, you are a superhero. Leave a comment if you made it all the way to the end. Notice on the shelf back there ain't but one box left, and that is our wiring harness for this majobber. But I'm glad you hung out. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you see me do something wrong, make sure you leave that in the comments. I'm always willing to learn something. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit your bell notification. That way you're notified every time I release a new comment, every time I put a video out. And I believe that's going to do it. Till next time, y'all go do some work.
Better